Guess we're recording. Different platform. So welcome to the Inspire View Series 2016. My name is Cherrise Boucher of CherriseBoucher.com. I'm a women's reinvention specialist, momentum strategist, and energy healer. I'm excited to continue doing this series this year because of the amazing women that I've met over the past year, and their stories have inspired me personally immensely to keep moving forward doing what I'm passionate about. And I think that sometimes that's just what you need, is to hear someone else's story that really connects with you and resonates, and you're like, oh yeah, like that's exactly where I am and look where she is. So that's why we share. And so today I would love to introduce you to a woman that I've known for several months now, and she's just super inspiring with her authenticity and her realness and how she just boldly puts herself out there. So Amber Boswell is an international best-selling author, revolutionary speaker, holistic living expert, body activist, and mamapreneur of four in very different age ranges. So Amber, hello. It's weird to do this on Zoom because I'm so used to having the screen go back and forth, and now I'm going to be on it the whole time.
Well, you can actually change. Did it change for you?
No, I'm still on.
So if you go up to the
view,
there's a gallery view, and I actually just did it, and now we're next to each other.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
Yay!
Yay!
Thank you so much for being here, and I'm in the weird lighting, but we're gonna go with that, so that's okay. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having
I'm
me.
thankful for being here. Thank you to whoever's watching for being here.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me here. I'm totally honored to be on your series. I think what you do is great. I think what you're bringing into the world is amazing, and so I'm super stoked.
Oh, yay. So, first of all, you've been really touching lately on some hot topics that I've been seeing in multiple areas, actually. Social media, marketing, and even in stores, I noticed lately. So authenticity and body image are huge right now. And I love that you are just so bold, and I think that really encourages other women to really be bold with themselves. So share a little bit, I guess, about how you got to where you are now, because you've also had like this video that just came out recently and went like bam all over, right, with views. And that was pretty out there, and you being very authentic. So share, because some women would be like, oh my God, I could never do that. But I know that you've got quite a whole story behind your whole life. But
yeah, I do. So I guess we'll stick to like the body image.
Yeah, well, we'll do another interview on a different aspect of Amber.
There's a lot. However, what's interesting about my life story is that a lot of it is tied to my body. So I shared in that video, and it's something I feel strongly about, but not something that I've always acknowledged, recognized, or accepted, is that the body that I live in as Amber Boswell in this life is really just a vehicle that carries me around in the world and allows me to be a speaker and an author and a mother and all these different things, right? And so my body, there's a story attached to it. I believe that every body, whether it's female or male, has a story because of the fact that we've had experiences while being inside of this body. So for me, when I was a young girl, from the time I was very, very young, I would be told how beautiful I was. That was, everywhere we went, you have a beautiful little girl to my parents, or you're so beautiful. It was constantly, you're so beautiful. So I started to identify and make my identity being beautiful. As I developed very young. as a young girl. By the time I was 12, I had the body of like an 18-year-old, breast and all of that stuff. And so I started to get male attention. And I was also raised by my dad. So he didn't necessarily, like when I started my period, most of your viewers are women, right? So this is, okay. So when I started my period, my dad, call him from school, he calls the hospital to get advice on what to do. And he comes home with these like after birth pads, he's like, here you go. And I'm just like, so like so I had to kind of like figure out how to be a girl and a woman kind of on my own, because I didn't really have much guidance. I had my grandmother, but I would only see her during the summers really. So anyway, I identified with being beautiful and thin and having a beautiful body for a very long time. I ended up being raped at 12, and that started what became a very kind of dark story around my body. So my body was violated. I didn't take it that much into account. It's only been in my older years that I've known that that's played into things. And then and again, I'm trying to make this really long story short. I started to learn around 15 that I can manipulate men. And I'm talking men because at 15, I was involved with a 27-year-old and a 30-year-old. And I was with men. I started to realize I could manipulate them with my body, with my sexuality, with my beauty. And this led to a love addiction for me. I got high off of this and didn't know until, again, later when I started doing the work that I had this love addiction, because it was so much more than sex. But I ended up getting pregnant with my daughter, Kaya, who I say saved my life at 16. Her father at that time was 31. And we ended up having Kaya at 17. I went on to live with her father. He was an alcoholic. He was abusive. I left various times, but I ended up getting pregnant again at 19 and having our second daughter by 20. I had gained 50 pounds with Kaya, lost it. I had gained 80 pounds with Kaylin, our second child, and was able to lose that as well. I was able to leave him, kind of gain some independence, but still had that love addiction going, to where I still I tied my worth to my beauty and how I was received in the world, specifically by men. And then being in the business world, being in real estate, I was a broker. I worked predominantly with men, and I absolutely used my body and my sexuality to my advantage in that world, in the business world. And it was not until I went to my first spiritual retreat, this is what's very interesting, and had what was an awakening where I met my higher self. And I'd been in the toxic living. I wasn't happy. I was drinking a lot. There was multiple love triangles going on. My business was, had crumbled, whatever. And so I was at a place where I really needed spirituality. Well, it was after I went to that retreat that I felt, like my whole world's going to change. And yes, like finally I found peace. No. What happened was I woke up and I had to go through a bunch of shit. And so what happened 8 years later was basically a shitstorm. My body started to break down because I started to see my body as sacred, and I no longer wanted to share it or use it as a manipulation tactic or anything. I wanted to keep it to myself. And so what happened is, I had endometriosis and I was treated with hormones, but I think, in my opinion, that weight is physiological in lots of ways, specifically for women with our different, having babies and our endocrine system. And if we take birth control, there's so many things that tie into what our physical form is, but it's also very psychological, emotional, spiritual. And so once I started to feel into the fact that I'd been raped, the fact that I'd been, a victim of domestic abuse, my ex, that's a whole other story. He was very abusive. These other men that were not so wonderful, right? So along with a dose of hormones and the spiritual path, I ballooned and I gained 50 pounds. For the first time in my life, I was overweight. And I was that bitchy girl who judged overweight women before, because I figured, you know, for me, because I've always been into eating healthy, I've always been into exercising, like,
right,
you know, eat a salad, get on the treadmill. I thought, yeah, I was so that girl. So I was humbled, totally. And what happened is I just decided to go on this journey of exploring what beauty really was and who I really was, and stop tying, and forced, by the way, to do this. And I'm grateful for the different things my body has gone through, because we had to go through this journey together. But I realized it was through having the experience of being overweight, and I'm currently still overweight. I had a baby a year ago. I got back almost to goal and then had a baby, and that's okay. So it's a beautiful thing. I'm transforming all over again, fourth time. But anyway, what I discovered was the true beauty of who I was not tied to the size of my waist or breast or my hair or anything else. It was tied to who I was, who I was divinely created to be. And it's only been in discovering my divine beauty that I truly feel beautiful. And I don't feel the need to get attention from men. I'm married now, in 5 years in May. And was never faithful to any partner I'd ever had, been faithful to my husband. So I got through the love addiction part. And what happened is I didn't realize all of this. I didn't put all of this together until other women started coming forward and sharing their body stories with me. And how that happened was after Weston, like I said, I lost 70 pounds. Now I'm all over the place, and I hope that you can follow me. Am I like making sense?
Yeah, you're making sense.
Okay, because this is a like really long story. I'm trying.
I know.
Okay. So
Weston is your son that you had a year ago.
Yeah. So I had Ella 3 years ago. So I have, yes. So as you mentioned, I have two generations. I have a 16, 13, took a break, got married, fell in love, had Ella, had Weston. After Ella, I was about 100 pounds overweight. She was a hard pregnancy. I was put on bed rest, all these health issues as I had shared with the 50 pounds and all these things my body started expressing the story, the sexual abuse and the endometriosis and infertility. Usually when you have gynecological issues, there's some sort of abuse there. The weight, I believe, was a protection. So I was able to explore myself and stop exploiting myself. Anyway, so after Ella, been on this healing journey for a while. I hadn't necessarily put the body thing together, but I was on this holistic healing journey. I am passionate about holistic living, committed my life to holistic living, lost 70 pounds, was doing really well, balanced my body so much, I got pregnant with Weston. Something the doctor said would never happen because my uterus, they basically said, like, Ella was a miracle. We're going to have to take your uterus. So that was awesome. But his pregnancy was super hard. I gained an additional 60 pounds. And so it's like basically right back where I started, which was fine, except for it's been a struggle this time for the first time to get it off. But now I understand why, because it's brought me to where I am now. So basically what happened is I said to this group that I run, about 3,300 people on Facebook, anybody want to do a bikini challenge? And I posted myself in a bikini in this private women's group. And the response was like, what? A bikini challenge? I've never owned a bikini. I don't go swimming. I don't let my husband see me naked. So all these stories, these body stories started to emerge. And I was like, holy shit. It's not a bikini challenge. These women don't need me to tell them what to eat. We don't need to go on the journey. We need to go on is self-love. It's self-love at the root of everything. self-acceptance, self-forgiveness, and these stories. And so I started to see this pattern emerge. And that was before body image and self-love was trendy. Yeah. So like this, it's all of a sudden exploded. Which
Isn't it funny how that happens? It's like,
this is the collective consciousness.
I know.
I guess. So
that's the only thing that can explain it, because it happens all the time.
Trust me, I know. I had a dress line, a caftan line. Like caftans were only popular in India. All of a sudden, my friend and I started creating one, but we had to do ours on a shoestring budget. Boom! Caftans blew up everywhere. I'm wearing a caftan right now, actually. And so yeah, it's interesting how that happens, but that's great. So I took them on this journey of self-love, radical self-love. And it's interesting because we had 222, we had to cut it off. There were so many women that signed up for this after a video that I made that went semi-viral. It had like 8,000 hits. So many women that signed up, I cut it off at 222. I was like, I can't support any more than this. This is intense. However, I don't think people knew what they were getting into. And so, as you know, being in this industry, so people get really excited in the beginning, and then they kind of taper off. But we had about 30 actually finish the program. And what happened is the transformation, there was physical transformation that happened, but the transformation of their lives, of their essence, was what was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
This could be my calling. And so, so I've decided to just kind of, I decided back then to explore it. And I've been in the exploration phase. I just launched a new website, amberjboswell.com, an online magazine, selfloverebel.com. And I decided the other day when Weston was sleeping to put on the same bikini that I wore when I posted the picture saying, hey, anybody want to do a bikini challenge? And just see how I looked in it, because I hadn't put it on since then. And he was sleeping, and I was like, oh, screw it. I'm just going to make a video because I want to express like my message. I feel like I'm not articulating it on the website. Just put it out there. I was only going to post it in my Rock Your Curves group, private group, right? With the women that we went through this journey with. And then my other I Rock for Plexus thing. But then I was like, oh, screw it. Just put it publicly. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, yeah, couple hundred people might see you in a bathing suit. Well, it's like up to like 25,000 views or something like that.
That's insane.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's awesome. But that did for me is that validated that women need to hear this message. They need to, there's this misconception, I think, that you are your body. Mm-hmm. When you're not your body, you have a body. And I get it because I've been that girl. So it's like I have been the size 0. I've been the size 20. I've literally been every size in between. I was at a birthday party for my mother-in-law, her 65th birthday party, and I was pregnant with Weston. And her friend had had a few cocktails. She came up to me. She goes, Amber, you are the ever expendable woman. She's like, you're skinny, you're fat, you're pregnant, you're skinny again. She's like, what? And it was hilarious. Like, I'm the type of person that you can talk to like that. Like, that's not gonna, I was just laughing at it, but it's so true. Like, I've been, so I can speak from being the actually really insecure, because using my body to manipulate and get what I wanted in the world is more, it's an insecurity actually to validate who you are. I'm actually more in love and more confident now being, 200 pounds than I was being 120, which is the irony here. But that's been the journey.
Well, and so how many, especially young girls, that, we see everything in media, which really, I think, affects how we feel about our bodies. But you see them and their attitudes sometimes, because my daughter's in high school too. So, and then you're like, but they're so cute, and they're tiny. And I'm like, I was never a size 0, like maybe when I was, I don't know, 7 or something. I mean, I'm a 5, 7 in that range. And I've really been that my whole, through teens till now.
It's a great range.
That's it's a good range. And I don't have to do a lot to maintain it. It's just like how my body is. But when I look at like Victoria's Secret models on those goddamn commercials at Christmas, and stuff, I'm like, why can't I look like that? Well, that, and when we age, because like I've always said this before, my soul really feels like about 18 years old. So to see my body getting older at 46 now, and how your body changes through the decades of your life, you're like, okay, what the fuck is that? I don't want that wrinkle. I don't want that extra flab. I don't want, and because you're still, no matter how old or how aware you are, I think you still compare.
You do. And that's what I'm trying to shift, and I'm not sure how, because I love these body positivity movements. They're great.
Oh yeah.
The whole reason I haven't like pulled the trigger on my movement is because I want the message to be really clear. So I think there's a difference like of owning who you are than striving to be the best, like healthiest version of who you are. So I'm never going to advocate obesity or being unhealthy, like ever. So accepting where you are on your journey is really important to get wherever you want to be healthy. So that's really huge, because I think that there's this misunderstanding, like there was that fat kini movement for a while, and like where these women are, extremely overweight, and I feel like that's where there's just confusion in the body positivity movement, and they exclude the 5s and the 7s, because you don't know what it feels like to be large. You don't know what it feels like to be obese, or the 2s or the 0s, because the 2s, the 0s, the 5s, the 7s, every single woman, like you said, across size and age experiences insecurity. And I believe you're right. It has a lot to do with what we have been bombarded with. And so the shift that we're seeing is awesome, and hopefully it will remain a trend. The fact that, and this is again on the bigger side, but I don't think these girls are unhealthy, the Lane Bryant commercial that NBC and ABC refused to play them is absolutely freaking ridiculous.
Oh, I haven't even heard about that one.
Oh, yeah.
I have to look it up now.
You will, because it's really beautiful. It's really empowering. These women are just curvier. They're not obese. And the comments that were made were like, this just advocates eating unhealthy. That pisses me off so much, because like, you look at my body, maybe you think that I'm like going through the McDonald's drive-thru and eating Twinkies in my closet, but that's not, like, I'm an organic health freak. So sometimes the body doesn't reflect the lifestyle. Right. So I think that's also a misconception. There's so many things that we have been programmed with that makes us our own worst enemy. But I just wrote a blog post on this. More than that, we also are each other's worst enemy. This is where I think the shift needs to happen, is women need to start accepting, embracing other women, because there's all this buzz around empowerment and this and that, but women judge women.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
It's something that happens. I don't care how freaking enlightened you are, how many meditation retreats you've been on, you will judge another woman.
It starts really young.
Yeah,
too.
It does.
So, I mean, it's not like you grow into this.
No.
Like little girls. I've seen them doing that at my son's baseball game, actually, last season. And I was listening. I was like eavesdropping on these little girls that were playing, and how one of them was saying, you don't want to play with me because I'm fat.
Yes, there was.
But those other 2 little girls, yes, they were petite little girls, but they were like, well, little girls, we can be bitchy at any age, right? So, and 3 is never, and I remember this from growing up myself, 3 little girls is not a good combination. You need 2 or 4, but not 3. I remember the conflicts that were had. So, it was an interesting interaction to watch because well, one of them seemed a little snitty, but, and I'm judging. uh,
Yes, but that's normal. I believe it's human nature, but I just believe becoming aware of it is
yes.
what can help shift us as a culture.
Oh, absolutely. Because when you get older and you're more aware of what your thoughts are doing and what you're expressing, it's easier to catch it and go, is that really like how I want to express myself? Is that really something that's good to say or share? But when you're a little girl, they were just like,
and when the youth,
her actually, one little girl who said, you don't want to play with me because you think I'm fat, because if it were me, I probably just would have gone and sulked somewhere at that age because I was really shy.
Yeah.
So it's bold.
Yes, that is bold. That is bold. And going back to what we're saying though, in terms of if we start to, because my girls, they're teenagers. So they're super judgy and I'm calling them on their stuff and they'll call me back on my stuff. They'll be like, Mom.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things is my 16-year-old doesn't like to wear a bra. She's very petite and she's got very like perky, cute breasts, it's whatever. And she's like, you're such a feminist. She's like, so why can't I not wear a bra? And so I have to be like, you know what? You cannot wear a bra, but to your private Christian school, you're wearing a bra. Not that we're Christian, but that's the school I chose because of the education. And I don't think it's appropriate for her nipples to be sticking out. So, but that's like a total side rant. But the point is that I hear my teens, doing that. And so I'm putting them in check. They're putting me in check. And I think that that's where it starts with the younger generations, is with the mothers. So if the mothers can start being conscious of how they're judging themselves. So if they're standing in the mirror and they're saying, gosh, my ass looks huge, or I'm so fat, or I'm so ugly, or whatever, their daughters are hearing that. Or if they're judging other women and speaking poorly about other women, their daughters are hearing that and their daughters mimic that.
Right.
But going back to the little girl that you heard, the research that I did for this blog post, there was an article put out by CNN showing that girls as young as five are having body image issues.
Isn't that awful?
And it's so awful.
I wasn't thinking about that at that age, like at all.
I don't know if I don't know, to be honest. I don't know where it comes from. If it must be television, movies, their influences. And so for me, with starting this movement, I want the basis to be about recognizing the divine beauty that exists within all people, right?
Right.
So that little girl who feels that she's overweight and doesn't want to be played with, to get her to see that she's so freaking awesome, who wouldn't want to play with her, have real, true, empowering conversations in the world, I feel is how it's going to shift and address. It's more to just be like, yes, I love my body. But you have to address, why don't you love your body?
Yeah.
Why don't you recognize?
Very real conversations have to be had, because we hide it, right? Sometimes you don't even know that you're saying things. So stuff slips out, and unless somebody else catches you, you don't even know that you're doing things or saying things. But, conversations, because we just hide how we feel about things. Like, why do you genuinely feel certain ways about yourself?
Totally. And so that's why in a lot of the things that I say is that you have to get naked. You have to get quite literally naked, like straight up butt ass naked. But you have to also get metaphorically naked. You have to be willing to strip yourself of all of these things, right, and peel back the layers of your body's story. And once you can start to identify, okay, for instance, 1 out of 3 girls, which is a horrible statistic, are violated in some way, right? So when there's a violation, there's lots of things that happened. happen, that can happen within your physical form in terms of holding on to weight because you want to be protected. You don't want to be seen as attractive. You can start to develop the gynecological issues. You tell yourself you're not worthy. So there's so many things that come along with what happens to you. But what I've realized along this journey is maybe you had things happen in your body's part of your body's story that were really traumatic, but we become the repeat offenders in our life, the worst of the worst. We become our own abusers. Mm-hmm. And we often don't know that until we are willing to get naked, until we're willing to strip ourselves down and be like, oh my gosh, yes, this happened to me. Yes, it's painful and it may take some time to heal, but oh my God, what I continue to do to myself,
right?
That's what's revolutionary. That's when you can really say, okay, like I get it, and start to work on it and really get to that place. I think.
Yeah.
That's been my experience.
And I think that that's where having the space to share like that is important, because, you know, after years and years of telling yourselves these stories, I mean, you literally don't even know you're doing it, I'm sure. So you kind of have to have that mirror person to have a conversation with, I would think, you know, or a group of women even, or men, if it's men having their own things, but we're not talking about them. To kind of reflect back to you what you're saying to yourself, because that awareness part is probably totally like a subconscious thing for many people, and they just don't even see it. Like they might be telling themselves, you know, positive things, but subconsciously, if they're still sitting there in that level of you're not good enough, or you're fat, or you're ugly, or nobody likes you, or you're not lovable, or whatever the story may be, it doesn't matter how many times, you know, you're kind of trying to live a more positive outward.
And it'll be triggered. And the more you become aware, the more you'll understand your triggers. Let me tell you, when I posted that video, because I'm friends with my ex-boyfriends on Facebook, who knew me as the hot young girl, right? With the body, like, I believe the woman's body is beautiful. It's what I love to paint. Like, I have naked women all over my house. My friends, my daughter's friends come over. They're like, "What's up with all the naked ladies?" My daughter's like, "My mom's obsessed." I've always been that way. Like, I've always loved the woman's form. I think it's beautiful, and it's been the center of art for thousands of years, right?
And they weren't skinny minis back in classic art.
No. And anyway, the point of the matter is like, I believe that the human body, the woman's body, should be celebrated. But for me to put that video out there, knowing that these men who once viewed me as this beautiful woman, girl, I was a girl back then, now to see me be like, "What's up? Here's my big belly." Like, that was nerve-wracking. But, and I thought about that before I put posts. Like, I am literally, it's not about the strangers for me, ironically. It's about these people who used to know me in a certain form, and now my body's a different form. And I say this is the version of me right now, because I believe we can constantly change this, you know, the way that we're divinely designed in a certain way, but I believe we can always transform our physical form. So, but I knew that the message was more important than my ego. So I pressed post, but that wasn't easy. And I'm somebody who practices this every day. Like, when I get out of the bathtub, I have a massive bathroom and it's got mirrors everywhere. So I get to see my divine design every time I get out of the bathtub. And before practicing body love on myself, I would look at, you know, cellulite or hangy skin or sagging breast or whatever and be like, "Oh, like, what happened to you?" And it's only been the recent, you know, since I started all of this and this journey and really like uncovering the mystery of of the body. Every time I see that reflection now, it's the same saggy breasts, it's the same overhang belly, and it's the same cellulite. Actually, the cellulite, I'm getting a lot better. That's a whole different collagen. Everybody should be taking collagen. Anyway, when I see myself now, I say, wow, you're a goddess. You're beautiful. And it really does help because I stop myself. So that there's this trigger where I'm going to go there. Right. And I can feel it. I'm like, no. And sometimes when it's really bad, when I'm feeling really bad, it sounds really creepy, but I'll go stand in the mirror and I'll look in my eyes and be like, brain bitch, you're not winning.
That's right.
Soul self, you drive. You're in the driver's seat. Kick her to the curb. So, it's those types of things. But when women are completely unaware, completely out of touch.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know what I feel like, I don't know if it's the right word, like afraid of their bodies. Or afraid of going there, or afraid of being exposed. I mean, I just did this quiz, right? I asked people in my Facebook audience or whatever. I wanted to collect some data. It was an anonymous quiz. I finally got 100 women to fill it out. And I can't tell you how many women share that they don't let their husband see them naked.
Wow. And their husbands are the ones, well, like my boyfriend tells me I'm beautiful all the time. And even like if share everything right here, right? Even if I get out of the shower or something and he'll come in and make some comments that I'm like, shut up, but because I do compare myself to these like supermodel women and I'm like, stop it. Like discounting what my partner feels or sees in me, but I'm like, oh, you must need glasses or something, So how many of us do even that? Like letting them see you, but then saying, you must be blind or something,
Right. Well, that's funny that you say that because my poor husband and children must be desensitized. I am naked all the time. I walk around butt naked. I'm out naked. Like I love to be naked, and even in this physical form. So my husband is so used to seeing me naked. It was so that's why for me, I'm like, nudity doesn't always have to be sexual, but for a lot of people it is. And so for me, being as open as I am with my nakedness, when I hear women say they don't want their husband to see them naked, it's interesting. But I will share with you, because my husband will never watch this, he's been losing weight and he's struggled with weight his whole entire life. I've been on this journey. So here I've already, gained and lost 100 pounds in our marriage and he's stayed the same. Well, he's finally like coming around because health is very important to me. And so he's starting to honor me and taking care of his health. He's lost 20 pounds. And yesterday I was like, oh my gosh, babe, I'm so proud of you. You look amazing. His pants are falling off because they're big. And he's like, oh, and he was the one. And so it's not only women, it's men, it's anybody with a body who struggled with their body image. I think that it's so hard for them to accept the compliment and own like, damn right, like I've lost 20 pounds, or when you're out of the shower, you'll be like, I know I'm hot. You know what I mean? Like there becomes this, and so I would love for every woman to get to that point, or at least come to a point where they're comfortable with themselves.
Right.
Now I may be comfortable butt ass naked in my house, but when I went to the YMCA the other day to swim, I wore a grandma bathing suit with a dress and a top, but it was a step because I love to swim. For me, I have to do low impact because of my postpartum condition I still have. So, I was like, you know what? And it was young guys working, of course. The lifeguard, the desk, everybody's like this 20-year-old good looking guy. I'm like, yeah, okay, sweet. So whatever. And I did it, and that it was like little accomplishment felt good. So I think it's that. And for me, I'd love to build a sisterhood, a movement, something that creates. And I already have started to build it, but really I want to be able to get it out there in the world and create something that's truly a global movement. And I know that sounds very ambitious, But that's my desire. My desire is to get women to a place where they actually recognize their beauty, their divine beauty. Because I think when a woman starts to own her beauty that is not tied to the shape of her body, but her individual divinely gifted beauty, they show up in the world so much differently. And by changing that, it starts with us, right? Specifically as mothers, even if you're an aunt or a godmother or whatever, when the woman changes and the woman owns, we are so powerful. When we own who we are and we own our beauty, the world around us starts to change.
Yeah.
People start to shift. And it gives other people around us permission to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And to me, that would be just awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I'm thinking, even of like in movies, certain actresses, and I know that they're acting, but even if they're older women and if they've got a role where they're really empowered and they're just seem like really genuinely them, how beautiful you think that those women are, no matter what they look like, because you can tell they're seated firmly within themselves and they feel good about who they are. And I mean, I know women personally like that too, but I'm just thinking of movies right now for some reason where you can see that, and you see that, they haven't done plastic surgery, their face isn't all stretched or anything. They're aging gracefully and they're gorgeous, So
I always look at that actually.
Yeah.
I think everybody does. I think it's part of our culture is to look at celebrities in that way. And there's a few, like Julia Roberts is one to me who is just so like natural. I don't know how old she is, but she's just like this natural beauty. Or Jennifer Aniston, or the ones, but they take care of themselves and they honor the sacredness of the body. And I think that's what people don't understand, because you think about it, once you get to a place where you can see your body as sacred, and like, the whole your body is your temple thing isn't so cliche, but you really are like, yeah, like that's the place you got to live. So therefore, you need to take care of it or it's going to shut down. And when we start having pains and all these other things, that's our body talking to us.
Right.
Our body's trying to tell us something. My body went into premature labor twice with Weston, and they stopped it the first time, said that they didn't detect preeclampsia. 2 days later, went into premature labor again. When I got to the hospital, the doctor was like, oh my God, had you not gone premature labor, you would have probably stroked out, and neither one of you may not be here, because the preeclampsia was progressing so fast. I went to a different hospital. It's a whole different thing. But the point is my body was talking to me. My body saved me and my son's life by going into premature labor. So it's when these things start to happen, your body, your body is your one true soulmate. You come into the world with this body, you leave the world from this body, and this body is the one consistent thing, one person that's always with you.
Yeah.
It's loyal to you, dedicated to you, and it's here for you to help you move around in the world. But if you abuse it, it gets to a point where it's like, all right,
exactly.
You know what? You're gonna gain some weight. you're gonna have some health problems if you don't start listening up, lady.
Yeah.
You want me to do all these things for you? We'll start doing things for me. And so I think it's again raising awareness around the fact that you are not your body. You have a body. And once you realize that, like I used to drink a lot. I rarely drink anymore. I used to have a soda here and there. I don't do that anymore. Like I do drink my coffee. It's my one thing. I've kept coffee. I've tried so many times to cut it out. I'm like, okay, organic coffee.
Yeah.
It's going down. So you get to a place where you start to really be like, okay, I'm going to honor this.
Right.
But it's a journey.
Yeah. It definitely doesn't happen overnight. And I think that nobody should expect that it should, no matter what program they start, what diet they're on, what coaches they go to, whatever it is, it's a journey. And it's
a lifetime journey. Like you got to be committed to it your whole entire life.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there's really, I don't know. You know, like, I don't know if there's really these enlightened masters walking around in the world. There probably are, that are so detached from their bodies that it's fine. But if you want to live in the world and integrate your spirituality into, you know, real life and whatever, then you have to know that loving your body and this journey of self-love is a commitment, is a lifetime commitment. You are marrying yourself. You are taking those vows for better or for worse. And it's a relationship you have to work on. You know, I think falling in love with somebody else is super exciting. As a former love addict, I can tell you, like,
exciting.
Yeah, you've got that lust, you've got that passion and everything else, right? And then it's when you start to have to integrate your lives and start to learn each other's quirks that you start to fight and all these other things that happen. Falling in love with yourself is totally opposite. There's pain and discomfort and like all this stuff you have to go through to get to who you are before you're like, oh, you know what I mean? So like some people don't necessarily want to take that journey, but if they do, when they come out on the other end, as somebody who's been through a shitload of stuff, I can tell you it's worth it. And that's the basis of true success. Self-love is what you build the foundation of success in business, success in relationships, success in health, success in anything.
Yeah.
It has to be built on this foundation or it crumbles.
Yeah. I agree. Oh my God. Awesome. We could talk for probably 3-4 more hours. We're going to have to do this again. So you have an offer for everybody who watches this, and I'm not on that page. So go ahead and share what you're sharing.
So for anybody interested who's watching this specific amazing series with Cherrise, I am offering a 30-minute bold breakthrough session. That means we can work on anything that you feel you need a breakthrough around in your life, whether it's body, beauty, business, relationships even. I'm offering that for free. You just go to my website, amberjboswell.com, go to the connect page, send me an email, and we'll schedule it.
Yay. And Amber is really like a no bullshit kind of person. So if you haven't ever seen any of her videos, they're very bold. And I love that about her because I think that's what you need. And I'm sure you weren't always there. Well, you were there in different aspects, I guess it sounds like, from your different
I've always been
shifting your power into a more positive.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome. And I love how much you share, because I just know that so many women, obviously, so many people appreciate that based on your most recent video, that's exactly what people need to hear. And I think what you're doing is going to just expand and really take off. And I think it's for everybody. You know, it really is. Like we talked about all the different body sizes or ages and everything. It really does encompass everybody.
It does. Self-love is not discriminatory. Every human should love themselves. Male, female, young, old, doesn't matter. So.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate
And everybody can find, I'll put a little link to Amber's website on my website on CherriseBoucher.com/the Inspire View series. And you'll find the recording of this on there like forever, indefinite period of time. So it'll be there. Thank you so much, Amber.
Thank you, Cherrise. Really appreciate it.